Rub my back. Just kidding. I used to own the CD to that. There was a little joke track at the end of it, which was really goofy. Good morning, Mr. Wright. Put something else on, lady.
Good morning, Ellen. I see you're still wearing your wedding gown.
And I will continue to wear it until our marriage is saved.
You are a psychopath.
Oh, Soren!
Is he here? Ah, Soren! Is he a divorce attorney now? No. Phoenix is a criminal lawyer. This is a normal case for him. Doing divorces, that's not something he's supposed to do.
Do you think you came to see how she's holding up? Sorry, my love, you came all the way to the courthouse just to see me? Oh, sorry, I don't know what to say. Blueprints. Huh? The engine blueprints. I can't find them. You know where they are?
Ooh.
Oh, they're in your room. The third shelf from the bottom on the right-hand side. I see.
Love how you still running the line even though I'm hacking away.
I see.
Hi.
He left?
He's leaving
God.
already?
Don't tell me he came just to ask about some stupid blueprints. Is he really that cold of a person, or is that just how he comes off, I wonder? What about me, Soren?
Are you back?
Yeah. Ellen.
He's back.
Come home soon. I'm lost without you.
Aww. Yeah, so it's definitely the butler. 100% it's the butler.
Sorry. Later. Looks like showing your vulnerabilities is the fastest way to capturing a woman's heart. You should take notes on this, Nick.
Please leave me out of this. Oh wait, it looks like Soren isn't big on words. But it's clear that he cares about Ellen. No, not. I actually feel kind of relieved.
Mr. Wright. I just absolutely can't be found guilty, you hear?
Don't worry. I'm going to do everything I can to prove your innocence.
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
Trial's about to start, sir.
Start, sir. Stu Bailiff's talking.
That's worse. Knowing him, he's not going to yield an inch. So I just gotta fight with everything I've got and save Ellen.
Court is now in session for the trial of Ellen White.
The defense is ready, Your Honor.
Forgot we still had the
The
costume on.
prosecution has been ready for a while, Your Honor.
Seeing so many familiar faces gathered together like this, it feels as though I'm at a grand reunion. It makes me want to go out for dinner and a drink and reminisce with all of you. Oh, that sounds like a great idea. I was dying for a real burger the whole time I was away.
Can make it a welcome back party for Maya. How about it, Edgeworth?
He's not in.
I have no intention of cavorting with my enemies.
Oh, take a break.
Now then, Your Honor, let us start this trial at once.
Ho ho, still not one for light-hearted banter. How are you, Mr. Edgeworth?
Jokes and good humor are beyond worthless in a court of law.
Guess we'll just have to have the party without him then.
However, word after the conclusion of this trial, I might consider joining you for your little welcome back party. I certainly wouldn't mind an invite at the very least.
He's still as emotionally constipated as ever, I see. Now then, Mr. Edgeworth, if you could please go over the details of this case for us.
The victim was Dumas Gloomsbury, a servant in the Sprocket household. He was an attendant at the wedding reception that occurred from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Mr. Gloomsbury apparently felt some animosity toward Ellen Wyatt, and so, a bit after reception ended at 10 p.m., he assaulted Miss Wyatt with the intent to kill her. The defendant fought back and ended up killing Mr. Gloomsbury.
In other words, it was justified self-defense, correct? If that's the case, the defendant might not be criminally responsible.
He's right. Worst case scenario, I could go for self-defense to avoid as a criminal charge. Wonder how Edgeworth plans to counter that, though. The prosecution's first witness will make my view on the matter clear, Your Honor.
Very well. Bailiff, please bring in the first witness.
Here
And
comes
does he smell like the
Emma.
butts? I thought it was going to be the butts.
No, we need Emma here first.
Yeah, that's Emma.
It had to be Emma first. Please state your name and occupation, witness.
Emma Sky, forensic investigator. And just as I'd like to say, sir, that being in the same courtroom as you is a great honor.
Well, that's right. You're a fan of Edgeworth's, aren't you, Emma?
Yep. We're good friends and all, Mr. Wright. But just this once, I intend to faithfully and fully testify for the prosecution.
Just this once?
And I do mean that wholeheartedly. Just this once, yeah.
I'd expect no less from you.
Yes, sir, I'm going to do my very best.
Like no one ever was.
Looks like nobody lost the popularity contest to Mr. Edgeworth, Nick.
I really couldn't care less. Besides, she'll see who's the better lawyer once I win this trial.
Yeah, maybe then you'll actually really care less. Now to take this guy, if you please. The murder weapon was a clock called the Timekeeper. The victim was hit with it from behind, and he fell over right onto the lantern. The defendant was spotted then, standing in front of the body holding the murder weapon. The victim was struck twice, by the way. That's new.
Twice. Interesting, interesting.
I think we'll be talking not about the struck twice part, but about the him falling into it.
Yeah, the him falling into it parts, I think is very easy for us to counter. Yeah, because he definitely laid it. Well, the door is open, and I'm pretty sure the inside doorknob was like somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I think I know why the second hit is there. Do you
Why?
see it?
In his hand?
The bloody hand. So my
Yeah.
guess, killer struck him once. He went unconscious, but they thought he was dead. They put him in here, and he like had felt his injury, realized he was weak, and he tried to get out. And that's why there's blood on the handle. He comes
Yeah.
out, and the killer realizes it, smacks him again.
That's a good point. I actually agree with that one.
Also, I think I see another reason why there's wood on top of him. If he just fell on top of it, there wouldn't be anything on top of him like that. Like if he fell on top of it, this stuff should not be on top of him.
Okay.
He was struck twice.
That's right. There's no mistake about it. The first blow was at the back of the victim's head. It was hard enough to knock him unconscious. Yet, despite the fact that he had been immobilized by the first blow, the defendant delivered a second, fatal blow to the side of the victim's head.
Which means what exactly?
Oh, there's that expression.
I figured it would go right over your head. Let's put it this way. By striking the victim a second time, the defendant killed her last chance to escape from any criminal wrongdoing. Yeah, swing it again when he's unconscious. That doesn't bode well.
She did, but how, Mr. Edgeworth?
The defendant may have been fighting back because she was being attacked. However, she then went on to deliver a fatal blow to the man who is already fully unconscious.
Nick, is he saying what I think he is?
Yep.
Yep.
I don't feel so well. And thus, Mr. Wright has justified self-defense has been removed from the table. The prosecution intends to prove the defendant killed the victim with murderous intent. Allow me belatedly to submit the victim's autopsy report. So that's why he was acting all smug. Well, more smug than usual.
It's fine, right? It's not like we're going to plead self-defense anyway, right?
Right, but now the judge has a negative impression of Ellen.
I am clearly mad about Ellen.
I don't make impressions of people until I've seen all of the evidence. He may not get to prosecute much anymore, but he definitely hasn't lost his touch.
Yeah, we need to read this. No time estimate? 10 p.m. to 1 a.m.
Oh, there it is. Well, actually, it does make sense, given the setup they're talking about.
Yeah, the actual thing ends at 10, and then from 10 to 1 would have been the second reception. So theoretically, he could have been struck during the reception after he tried to pop out, but not at the very tail end of the reception, right? When the reception would have actually ended.
True.
So she would have discovered the body after cleaning it, what had to be after 1 or 2, she discovers the body. Go on. I actually didn't read the full thing there. Was there actually more to it?
It was just saying where the wounds were.
Okay. Now then, Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination.
Because, like,
Not much option.
there's stuff on top of him. If he got knocked into the lantern, there wouldn't be stuff on top of it. Everything would be below him, right?
Objection!
Detective Sky, I'm afraid I have to apologize in advance.
For what?
For embarrassing you in front of your idol.
What do you mean?
Take a look at this photo of the crime scene. You'll see that the victim is lying on his back. But the victim had been hit from the behind, as you claim. And he should have fallen over the lantern face down.
Ah,
It's not enough to simply take someone's side, Detective Sky, even if it's Mr. Edgeworth.
oh. Huh, there does appear to be a flaw in the Detective Sky's testimony. Mr. Wright, if you think I'm going to just back right down, then you're sadly mistaken.
Emma's unusually fired up today.
Don't forget, she's in front of her hero, Nick. If the Steel Samurai came to watch this trial, I'd want to do my absolute best, too. Listen, Mr. Wright. It's entirely plausible that the defendant moved the victim's body after he fell over. In the case, there wouldn't be any contradiction, right?
She would have gotten blood on her dress. Indeed. That was an excellent counter-argument, Detective.
You can count on me, sir. So what do you have to say to that, Mr. Wright? Well, she's already doing better than Gumshoe.
I say
Not
no.
possible.
Sorry, Detective, but there's no way the victim's body was moved after his death.
Oh, really? And what makes you so sure? I'm sitting here with the biggest grin on my face, knowing that...
Well, look here, and it should become obvious. So we're probably talking about this stuff on top of him, right?
Yeah.
Take that!
Those broken bits of the lantern?
Yes. If the body had been moved after the fact, these fragments would have fallen off of it. But as you can clearly see, they're lying perfectly undisturbed on top of the body. This means that the victim must have been lying face up from before the lantern even broke.
You're right. But wait a minute, if that's true, then when was the victim killed? I mean, the lantern was still whole during the reception, right?
Right. Which means we just overturned a major assumption about this case. The victim was already dead before the lantern was even broken. The Namada must have been inside the lantern since before the reception started. In other words, the defense asserts that the victim was killed before the wedding reception.
What?
Edwards is going to store the autopsy report after, like, hey, the time of death. In short, when Miss Wyatt was seen standing in front of the body after the reception, it wasn't a moment just after the murder was committed. It's the moment she happened to discover the body, just as Miss Wyatt claims.
Objection!
Ah,
Whether the act was committed before or after reception is entirely inconsequential. After all, it was the defendant who prepared the reception hall for the event in question. Therefore, when the murder occurred, changes nothing in regard to her guilt. She could have killed the victim before the reception, as you claim, and then tried to hide the body in the lantern after the event ended.
Objection!
Sorry, but that doesn't make any sense. I mean, where would the body have been hidden during the reception in your scenario? That's... even you have to admit it, Mr. Edgeworth. This has opened up a new possibility. Do explain, Mr. Wright. Well, if Miss Wyatt didn't commit the crime in the reception hall, that means someone, somewhere put the victim's body into the lantern.
I suppose that makes sense. A dead body couldn't have put itself in there.
Exactly, Your Honor. In other words, if the murder actually occurred before the reception, it opens the possibility that he was killed somewhere else, I think, based on these.
Yeah.
The body was hidden inside the lantern. It's possible that the body was moved along with it somewhere else.
Oh, you're right.
You can run that mouth of yours all you want. But do you have any evidence to support what's coming out of it, Mr. Wright? Of course I do. I think the answer lies in that piece of evidence, and in something that was left at the crime scene that will point us to where the victim was really killed.
Very well, Mr. Wright. In that case, what proves that the lantern and the body were moved from somewhere else?
Is it Larry's
Petals?
picture? Because Larry's picture shows him in here.
Yeah, it shows the petals.
No, it's more referring to this.
Yeah, they are there.
It shows the bowls were somewhere else before the crime.
It might be pointing to the photo of him kaput, right?
Well, no, I think we need something different here.
I think we need the photo of him dead with the petals inside the thing, because that proves that something on him goes somewhere else, right?
I don't think so. Maybe it is referring to the petals.
Take that!
It is.
The photo of the victim again?
Yes. Select the card to focus on this thing right here.
Petals.
Take that!
Flower petals, Mr. Wright?
These petals are from a kind of flower that was not present in the reception hall. That means they must have gotten into the lantern when it was somewhere else. And just where do you propose this somewhere else to be, Mr. Wright? Propose that this piece of evidence will tell us where the flower petals came from. Okay, now we
And then
present
it's
this
your
one.
photo.
Just like take a look at the flowers in the picture of the whole. Notice how their petals are of the same shape as the petals in the crime scene photo.
Yes, I see. They do look to be from the same kind of flower.
Objection!
Is that really all you've got? A flower is a flower. A flower is a flower is a flower. They're all the same. I would hardly call what you presented compelling evidence.
I'm afraid I couldn't disagree with you more, Mr. Edgeworth. I gave a flower of this type and my lovely wife once we were young. So I can assure you that this is very meaningful and compelling evidence indeed. The soundness of my judgment in this matter is backed by nothing less than pure love.
But, Your Honor, let it go and move on, Mr. Edgeworth. It's clear you don't know much about flowers. It's not like you have anyone you'd actually give any to, after all. Oh! Well, to be fair, Phoenix, neither do you. But maybe you should study up on them, just in case the opportunity presents itself. This from the man who only knows the names of 3 types of flowers. It's hardly relevant to the case at hand.
Yeah, I found nothing solid on Google.
The defense asserts that it is highly probable that the victim was killed in the hole. The body was then placed in the lantern and moved to the reception hall for some reason. It completely destroys the prosecution's case.
Then you mean the body was?
Yes, the victim's body was inside the lantern during the entire beautiful wedding reception. While the defendant and her betrothed were celebrating their love.
What?
Objection!
It was smooth talking. Smooth talk might work on his honor, but it won't work on me. What are you talking about now? Take another look at all the evidence, and you'll soon see what I mean. Wish you would just tell me already. Detective Sky, I'm sure you've already figured out what I'm talking about, correct?
Of course, sir. Mr. Wright is the only one here who hasn't. Why don't you leave this to me, Mr. Edgeworth?
Very well. Let's see what you can do.
Detective Sky, please give your testimony with the court. This might be a pressing one. The victim could have not been killed before the reception. The autopsy report states that the estimated time of death was after the reception. And that the estimated time of death is correct. There's no way it could be wrong. It's clear Mr. Gloomsbury was killed after the reception. And that completely contradicts your claim, so we need a clock.
I guess so. Tell me you took at least a cursory glance at the autopsy report, Mr. Wright. It appears you've grown rusty since our last outing. Might I suggest you go back and brush up on the basics? Sure. Though I must say you're as cocky as ever, Mr. Edgeworth. I beg your pardon.
What are you trying to say, Mr. Wright?
I'm just saying that I'll go back to basics if that's what Mr. Edgeworth wants. Prove how badly he's underestimated me with a good old-fashioned cross-examination.
There's nothing we have with a clock on it other than the murder weapon itself, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. Very well. Let's see you put your money where your mouth is, Mr. Wright. Nothing much with a clock on it, right? He's not looking at his clock. Shit! I just realized there's an excess of steam coming from his right side, isn't there?
There's a lot over here. Also, isn't it weird this guy only has one glove on?
It might just be the shading. I think he's not.
No, that's definitely one hand glove, one hand not. There's no way that's shading.
That's got to be shading.
Cause like you can see on this guy right here, like his right hand is like fully in the shade, and then like half of his left hand is in the shade, and the other half's not.
I don't think that guy has anything to do with the case.
That looks like a glove.
There's nothing with a time on that. There's nothing on the clock itself, the timekeeping clock, because that might have been running until it happened.
Okay, he's also holding something.
Yeah, he is too. Maybe his wedding vow or something?
Oh, there is a clock right there.
But that would say 12, 1, 2, 3, 4 a.m.
Yeah, that's 4 a.m. That's definitely almost 4 a.m.
But even the timeline that I have sprayed with the body discovery, that doesn't make any sense. I think that's just decoration. Like, it's way out of my extended timeline for 4.
Regardless, why does the clock say that time?
Nothing there. That has a degree thing on the bottom right. So that's heated up to 82. Or
It's 85.
yeah, 85. Doesn't matter, though. I don't think that has any bearing on it. No case on that. She's writing with her right hand. Nothing on there. You can't check the item itself?
We don't have the...
The murder weapon?
We have it, but we can't look into it. This.
Hold it!
You sound pretty certain. You must have some solid grounds for making the claim, right?
Of course I do. And you're going to feel silly when I show you what they are. Ready? Feast your eyes on this.
Hold it!
Here, I thought we were getting new evidence.
I've read the autopsy report too, you know.
Then you don't need me to explain it to you, all right? How's there no way the victim could have been killed before the reception, I mean?
Detective Sky. I think you've overlooked something big.
I have?
Why don't you take another look at the evidence?
But I've already looked at all the evidence. And quite carefully, too, I'll have you know.
Detective Sky. Do not be taken in by his verbal antics. He is simply bluffing, as always.
Right, sir.
Hold it!
Is it possible that the culprit did something to obscure the real time of death?
No, not in this case. There was no snow or anything to keep the body from decomposing. And there's no fridge on the airship big enough to fit a body into.
Yeah, it's an estimate. Yeah, it's not a guarantee, it's an estimate. Ace Attorney has a habit of making that not very clear. I didn't read that.
It all comes down to the estimated time of death, doesn't it?
So you've already checked into that, I see.
It all comes down to the estimated time of death, doesn't it? Couldn't the killer mess with the victim's time of death by keeping the body on ice?
No. Well, yes, you could, but in this case, no. Yeah, if they had the means to. Brock is treating the estimated time of death as absolute. Is it really?
I take it you don't think it is, huh, Nick? In that case, we're going to have to find a way to convince him otherwise.
There's got to be a way somehow.
Dry ice?
The fog. The dry ice fog. We just present a machine.
Objection!
I admit that the estimated time of death does contradict my theory.
Finally, that means your theory is that the victim was killed before the reception.
It's still entirely plausible.
Oh, what makes you think that?
The killer could have falsified the time of death by using a certain item in the reception hall. Please take a look at this.
And what is that contraption, Mr. Wright?
It's a fog machine, Your Honor. Used to create a special romantic atmosphere in the hall.
And this machine could have been used to falsify the time of death?
Yes, Your Honor. Because this machine uses dry ice to perform its magic.
Dry ice. Oh yes, the super cold stuff commonly used to make theatrical fog, right? I see. So your claim is that this dry ice was used to keep the body cold? Oh. In that case, I guess the victim could have been killed before the reception.
Poor Emma.
Order! Order in this court! Well, Mr. Edgeworth, what do you have to say about this development?
That the victim was killed in the hold before the wedding reception. Prosecution acknowledges the possibility of this claim. Now we're getting somewhere. The prosecution would also like to thank you, Mr. Wright.
I knew it was too convenient. I knew it.
Huh? For what? I didn't know how a certain piece of evidence fit into this case. But now, thanks to you, I do. What piece of evidence? To get into the hold, one needs a key card, like this one.
Oh, look, Pierce!
And here we have a record of those who entered the hold with such key cards. The times aren't specified, but these are the last 3 entries on the day of the murder. And as you can see, the last person entered the hold that day was the defendant.
And we're not going to talk about the second last person?
Well, he wasn't the last person in the hold. The last person in the hold would have to be the culprit, right? If that's where the crime scene was, that's where it would have to happen, right? So the last person would be guilty, right? What?
So the one who moved the body out of the hold must have been?
That's right. It was none other than the defendant.
Hey, Nick, take a look at the entry record. There are a couple of names on here besides Ellen.
Hey, you're right. According to entry record, Mr. Edgeworth, Pierce Nicody also had gone into the hole. Is it possible that he could have been the culprit?
Objection!
Sorry, but Mr. Nicody was escorting a few guests at the time. I'm sure he would be happy to testify to that fact if you'd like. Think me cocky you all you'd like, Mr. Wright, but my confidence is rarely misplaced. Now then, it's probably safe to assume that after killing the victim in the hold, the defendant moved his body into the hall in order to dispose of it discreetly. What do you mean by discreetly? The defendant volunteered to take care of the reception's cleanup personally. That means she would have had a chance to dispose of anything in any way she wanted, including taking the lantern off the airship without raising any suspicion. Don't tell me you didn't know about Miss White volunteering for cleanup duty, Mr. Wright. Look at you, sweating buckets like a rookie, even after all these years, nevertheless. Thank you for proving that the only person who could have killed the victim in the hold is Ellen White. Ah! Great job, Phoenix. Now we're back to square one. Perhaps you should ask Miss Sykes for some help in reviewing Defense for Dummies.
Way to go, sir. You got Mr. Right in a cold sweat.
I wonder if maybe the promise of seeing that miserable look on his face is what brought me back to court today. It certainly made all of my stress and woes as chief prosecutor just melt away.
I guess he had a lot of stress built up.
I'll give him something to stress over before we're through today. Your Honor, the prosecution asks that you render your verdict at this time, before the man over there tries to throw the court into chaos with his meaningless bluffs.
I see, Mr. Wright. Are there any last meaningful bluffs you'd like to present to the court?
Why does he have to assume it'll be a bluff?
Nick, hurry up and throw a good one out there.
I will. Well, all right then. Let's see. I've got it. How do you know it was Miss Wyatt who used her key guard? After all, it turns out that somebody else had used her card. It would mean Miss Wyatt didn't do it.
Interesting. Are you able to prove this bluff to be true?
I assure you I'm not bluffing, Your Honor. Well, now what?
Wait a minute, Nick. I can think of a certain somebody who might have used Ellen's key card.
You can?
Remember? The one who was sneaking around in the hold in spite of not being a family member?
But the question would be, how did she get in there then? Because she was in the hold. So how did she get in if she didn't have her key card?
Probably let in, but...
Oh, that's right. Your Honor, the defense would like to call a certain witness to the stand. We need a testimony of this person who may have entered the hold with Miss Wyatt's card.
It's the butts.
Take that!
That's your witness. Are you saying that Numbskull was on the airship? He never breathed a word of it to me. That's not surprising, because Mr. Nakoti told him to keep quiet about it. But Mr. Butts himself admitted it to me. He claimed to have found a way to sneak onto the Flying Chapel's hold to see Miss Wyatt. This photo he took and gave to me is proof. Then when was it he moved the Then was it he who moved the lantern with the body inside the reception hall? You know as well as I that with him, anything is possible. And this is one possibility we should definitely look into. I can't believe this. What in the world is he doing mixed up in this? Come on, Mr. Icarus. Remember what we've been saying since elementary school. When something smells, it's usually the butts.
Oh, Lord.
Exactly. That Larry, he'll pay for this. Well, if you want to extract your payment now, he's right up there in the gallery. Ah!
Bailiff, seize the witness before he makes a run for it.
No! Why does this stuff always have to happen to me? Sorry, Larry, but you brought this on yourself.
Let us break for a 15-minute recess. I ask that both sides prepare for the next witness testimony during this time.